Alright, welcome back to another episode of the 1216 podcast manga section. What is going on here? First off, you know what? Let's get right into it, because my mind is blown. Chapter 1138, the Harley. Starting off with the cover art, we have, of course, we realize who stole the sword from Yamato's group, and it's no one other than who? You guessed it. Who? Get it? Who's who? He stole the sword. He's inside the hideout that's underneath the Udon prison. He's hiding away with a bunch of different people down there with him. It looks like it's a few beast I don't know. A few beast creatures, I would say, for the most part. Yeah, because they're part of the beast pirates. So some more beast creatures down there with him. We have some people playing some women down there as well that don't want to be there. So I'm assuming that Yamato is going to fight who's who. And if Yamato fights who's who and wins, Yamato is obviously on a level of Jinbei, which kind of makes sense because Ace was on Jinbei's level when he was trying to become a warlord when they clashed with one another. This is before he joined the White Bear Pirates, of course. He only got stronger over the time, but so did Jinbei, and this is setting up to put Yamato on that level. Thank you, Oda, for having Ace's dream live on through Sabo, Luffy, Yamato. The list continues. I love it. But to get right into the fucking chapter, because oh my gosh, we start off with Loki beaten, head down, still alive and kicking though, barely. He's breathing and clutching on for life as he looks over at Shamrock and says, "It's crazy. You look just like him, and you have to be related to that red-headed pirate." Talking about Shanks, of course. And of course, hoo-wee. Shamrock turns around, Gunko is looking on, simply says, "Hold your tongue. That's nothing to do with you." Loki simply stands back, "Yeah, you're right about that. It's none of my business. A great pirate and a celestial dragon. The opposites of one another, of the world power. This in fact, you guys have the same face. So it's bound to draw curiosity to anybody who looks on and sees you two." And then Shamrock tells the whole world, "That pirate is my younger twin brother. He returns to the Holy Land. One time he came back. Once. But he prefers to live with the filth in the lower world." So now, Loki is still tied up, looking on, says, he returned, huh? So then your bloodline itself has got on my nerves, not once with Shanks, but twice with Shanks and Shamrock. Both the Fingerland brothers, the twins, have pissed off Loki. And one day, each of them shall be targets of his wrath. As soon as these chains come off, for not only did they hurt Loki's Nakama, but also sat there and looked him in the face. Loki is pissed. As Loki's telling him that, he simply says, "You better watch out and basically watch your back, because once these chains get off, I'm hunting your ass down." And Shamrock does not sit well with that whatsoever. He says, "You dream of threatening me." Gunko says, "Commander, don't let him." He says, "Indeed, it's not worth dirtying my own hands." And he calls forth Cerberus out of his sword. The sword that looks just like the griffin that Shanks has, which puts even more of this spectacle behind. Shanks could have been a holy knight. He has this sword, amazing swords play, because he is twins brothers with the Holy Knight. And that means that he had to have returned one time. But who was that? Was that Shanks that went to Mijoa? Or was it Shamrock? Could that one time have been then? We'll never know. Or will we? Until we get into that point, though, we want to sit here and look out at Cerberus, a three-headed wolf, beast, demon, Yonko, yokai, comes out of this sword and comes forth with the swords coming through its mouth. Loki looks on and says, "What is that?" Shamrock tells him, "It's my sword." Of course, it looks kind of creepy, but it's no time for that, because this bloodlust, this hockey, this everything that Shamrock is oozing out is only making him a target to be known by anybody who's there. You must conceal your presence, Commander, as Gunko reminds him. And he says, "You know what? Let's scramble. Let's get out of here." And Gunko creates an arrow bird and shoots off into the sky with this on the back of this arrow bird / plane. But as they shoot off, Cerberus is still down there. Of course, Shamrock tells them to come on. But you gotta be joking if you think Shamrock is gonna walk away that easy without getting some payback. He sends his Cerberus down, and of course, as it's flying towards Loki, Loki curses the celestial dragons and says, "Damn you to hell," as he gets pierced, not by one, not two, but by all three of the heads of Cerberus with the sword sticking out of their mouths. They stab him in his chest and two up on the side of his of his obliques. And he curses them to hell as they fly off and get up out of here and leave. We jump around a little bit because now we're back in the castle where the giants that were beaten is laying down on the ground, and they says, "I know what I saw. It was red hair." And of course, Luffy is pissed because nobody tarnishes Shanks' name like that. Nobody in the right mind would ever say that Shanks does this, because Shanks is a good person. Shanks would not have done this without a good reason if he did do it. But they look on, and Nami looks at Luffy and simply says, "You have a lot of trust inside of him." "Of course I do, Nami." Luffy sits there and says, "This is not something that, would happen. It has to be some brother or somebody who looks like him. Imagine if it was Malamir." Obviously, he meant Bellamere, and of course, Nami corrects him with that and says, "I guess you're right. Two identical people. Maybe they're brothers, Shanks' brother, but Luffy doesn't recall him ever talking about his family. He recalls knowing that he woke up and was born on a ship." Obviously, it was Roger's ship. They had a fight at God Valley. The twin brothers got separated at birth. Bada boom, bada bang. We got ourselves Shanks and Shamrock growing up in two separate ways. One is life of a pirate up on Roger's ship. The other one is the life of a celestial dragon that becomes a holy knight. But then we jump around. We leave them alone for a little bit to leave them where they're at. And it's at the castle where King Harold was at. And we look at Frankie, and Frankie's following along with the Adam Jewel tree still. And he's getting the tour, of course. And as he's getting this tour, he realizes that it's some ancient text drawn. Now, he doesn't say it's ancient text, but of course, as he's there, he realizes that these are scribbles or scrabbles that kids could have drawn for many years ago. With that being one of the things, of course, this is something that Robin would really enjoy. But Ripley is there along with Frankie, and Ripley is talking back and forth about joking about selling parts of the tree off and getting money for it and doing this and doing that. And Frankie reminds her, "Ripley, you better not do that." She said, "Of course I wouldn't, because Saul would scold me. He already did it once. He would definitely do it again." But this mural, she tells Frankie a little bit more about it. And as Ripley and Frankie are having a conversation, they notice that this is not just all regular giants. They all look different. And that's right, because the history here that you guys are familiar with Sometimes sometimes we're between wars of races. They're never a cultural exchange though, because these different races are having these wars and all out. You have giants, you have fishmen folk, you have swordsmen. It's a bunch of different people that you have out there that might come back a little bit as we read through the books. But even inside the schools, all the children are learning about everything that O'Hara has left behind in order to teach them a proper lesson of history. As they're going through in the Owl Library, where Robin is there with Saul and Chopper, they have this giant book with this text inside there. And the text, of course, is the text of the ancient history. This is believed to be Elbath from back then, the sun god that all of the Elbath warriors believe in, has different personalities depending on who was telling the story. It's kind of funny that happens, because it leaves it to be 3 different types of stories that were written. The story of the past, the story of the void, the story of the present. The void must have been when everything was written down for the most part. Where they got the past, whoever came back from that with Toki's fruit. The time traveling fruit, of course. The present, which was during that void century where they started writing things down. And then the future, where of course they had to have predicted or saw far enough into the future of what's to come for the third battle. Because everything here is so unique and so crazy that Frankie looks on at these 3 things. He's in better jewelry. We have Robin that's down low, and as Robin and Frankie both start reading through the different worlds, we have the first world. Within the earth, there was fire. Mankind scrubbed to greed and touched the forbidden sun. The enslaved prayed, and the sun god appeared. The earth god raged, and with its serpent of hellfire shrouded the world in death and darkness, and they would never meet. The earth god, the sun god, and the first world never met. Darkness overtook. The second world. Within the void, there was breath. The forest god tamed demons, and the sun spread the fires of war. Those of the half moon dreamed. Those of the full moon dreamed. Man killed the sun and became God, as they put out the fire, of course. And the sea god stormed, and they would never meet. Sea god never met the sun god. Forest god never met the sun god. But we get to the third world. The third world, and then we'll get into the actual picture itself. Within the chaos, there was emptiness, inconvenient remnants. Recall the promised day and hear the voice of the half moon. The sun god dances and laughs, of course, to the rhythm of his drums, guiding the world to its end. The sun returns and brings a new morning, and they will surely meet. Meaning that Im-sama, the transformations that he's went through, Im-sama is the consistent through this. He is the person who was the serpent, the person inside the air that was the forest god, the sea god, and of course now the void, that half moon returning. It's 3 different worlds here. We get another symptom of 3s. First, we have Blackbeard with his 3 different personalities, the 3 skulls to represent the 3 different ways that he does act. We get the 3 different Nikas because each Nika is a little bit different inside its own world. And now we have the 3 different versions of Im Sama. But this picture itself, the very first world, it shows the serpent and it wraps everybody inside all pure darkness as they're going through and trying to survive the best they can. The second world has a lightning bolt coming down, kind of like Enel, as the arc maximum, which is what it looks like, but an arc is going through not just the fires, but trying to figure out its way in its path. And you have the final world, where the giant monster with wings on his back and horns out of his head is sitting there with the sun in his hand, is getting attacked. And you see these pictures of one, the sun god with a shield and sword in his hand, symbolizing, of course, Luffy. A giant robot, symbolizing, hopefully, Frankie. We then have a demon, a giant demon with horns coming out of him, with long hair. This may be Loki, which is why Loki, in my opinion, may join the Straw Hats inside this ever-ending fight at the very end to fight off this Im Sama. Then we have these ships where it looks like we have samurai that's going through with katanas in their hand. We have merfolk, such as hopefully Shirahoshi is going to be showing up. We have a pet that's inside there, kind of like a raccoon-ish type thing. A little bit weird though, but it's Chopper, of course. A giant whale symbolizing, and it's carrying 2 people on his back. So this giant whale, of course, is going to be Jinbei as they fight. A person coming down with wings on their back and a halo over their head. This is what they call the demon child. This has to be Nico Robin. There's another person with a sword and a spear running up as well. That's down below by Chopper and by the merfolk. We have a wolf in the background. This wolf could be a number of different people, but I'm going to say it's Usopp. These symbolizations could all transform and change into different things. Sanji could be somewhere inside there. Nami could be somewhere inside there. But we all know the end game is the same. This third world that we live in right now, that's going on in this current time period, is going to be the world where Nika, the sun god, returns, meets Imu, and of course defeats him. What a chapter. What a chapter. So much to talk about. So much information was given in the picture, the descriptions, everything that Frankie is looking at and reading. I wonder what Robin would have to say about this. We have to wait till the next chapter when it drops. But another banger. Ichiro Oda, you're doing your thing. Ichiro Goda, you are killing it. Please continue to go through strong with this. I want to see this through. I cannot wait for the next chapter. There is no break. We're coming in strong as fuck. And I'm ready for this. One Piece fans, drop a like down below. Give us a thumbs up if you truly rock with One Piece itself. Of course, if you are rocking with the breakdown description, let me know what your thoughts are, if my thoughts sound good, but just, talk about a little bit of it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Of course, subscribe to the channel to get notified every single time. Hit that bell. This is 12. I'm gonna see you guys soon, I promise. Signing off.